What if you are 45, 50 something plus and you are exhausted, you are burnt out, and at the same time you're thinking, what if I am never able to retire? Maybe you are worried about whether you have enough money. Maybe you are worried about healthcare. Maybe you are taking care of other people and there's a lot of people relying on you. Maybe you just have a lot on your plate and you're thinking, what if it just never can happen for me? What I'm going to talk about today is reframing that. Let's take a look at that. So instead of asking, what happens if I can never retire? Maybe asking yourself, what can I do about work? What can I do about earning income? What can I do about making money? Can I change that up in a way where I don't desperately feel like I need to stop? That's the question to ask. My name is Amy Palmer. I am your Gen X big sister, and this is episode 2 of my new show, The Pretirement Project. We are going to explore all things pretirement here. And just so you know, pretirement is the last 10, 15 ish years before retirement. You don't feel like you're ready to retire now, either financially, emotionally, mentally, whatever, but you can't keep doing things the way you've been doing them. That's what pretirement's about, and that's what we're going to dive into today. First, it starts with our definition of success. Like you, I was handed a very traditional blueprint as a small child. As a girl, I was supposed to do well in school, get into a good college, hopefully meet a young man that I fall in love with, get married, have kids, while simultaneously pursuing a successful, fulfilling career. And if I did that and proceeded to follow all the appropriate goalposts for life, keep progressing in your career, putting away to retirement, eventually becoming grandparents, etc., then that is what it took to have a happy, fulfilled life, right? I didn't follow that blueprint. Many of you did not follow that blueprint in a variety of ways. But I find if we just extract out of that definition of success, because today's episode of the Pretirement Project, we're going to start exploring what I call the first pillar around retirement, and that is work, how we look at work, what we do about work, how we feel about work. And so our definition of success is really tied in very intrinsically with work. I I fell in love with climbing the corporate ladder. I started out my career with passions and goals and dreams. And so, in my 20s, I definitely pursued some dream aspirations. Of you that have been following me for a long time, I was an aspiring actress. And while I was pursuing an acting career, I had to find ways to pay the rent, right? And so I ended up getting into sales jobs, which then led to management jobs, and I kind of fell in love with climbing the ladder and getting to a senior role. That's what I aspired to. That's what I did, and I did it for many years. And my definition of success was to hold that title, earn that salary, live a certain lifestyle. And what I've been finding is that all of those preconceived thoughts and beliefs and perceptions are counterproductive to building a positive pretirement life design because it traps you. Corporate Amy was very different from real Amy. And someday I really have to dive into that in a video. I haven't really done that yet, but how decisions that I made, things that I did, priorities, goals, all of that was very specific not conducive to having a full, fulfilling life now. And why do I say that? Because, like you, I came to a point where I couldn't do that anymore. I couldn't ha- doing what I was doing in the way that I was doing it required a ton of hustle, a ton of grind, long hours. It required making it a top priority. It required basically thinking about it 24/7. Like, I woke up in the morning thinking about my job and my career and my duties and my responsibilities, and I went to bed at night thinking about that too. So it sucked up my energy. And I know with the conversations that I've had with you over these past many months that there are many of you in the same boat and feeling the same way. And whether we call it burnout, whether we call it exhaustion or whatever, all I know is that like 5 years ago, I knew, like I had the thought, I cannot continue like this. I cannot do this indefinitely for the rest of my life. And I couldn't even conceive of doing it till the age of 62 or 65. Like it was just sucking the life out of me. And I hit a wall. Not only did I hit a wall, I couldn't see clearly enough to see any other options. I couldn't see any available doors or windows available to me. Now, mind you, I was grieving other aspects of my life. And while that's not the focus of this video, it was an element of my story. You know, I was grieving the fact that I did not become a mother. I was grieving the fact that I didn't have a partner. And I was kind of just getting to the end of sort of that grief journey, the end, of that grief journey a bit. But I was still so clouded and so confused and so tired, like just foggy. Plus menopause was hitting at the same time. So it just felt hopeless and insurmountable. And looking ahead, this is 5 years ago. So I was like 54, around the age of like my early 50s, 53, 54. Looking ahead and thinking, oh my God, I got to do this for like at least another 10 years. It just, I just wanted a timeout. And luckily, due to my faith, spirit, God, whatever you want to name it, I did not want to give up all hope. I did not cross the threshold of thinking of self harm in any way. Um, although I still did reach out for therapy and get professional support at the same time. And I highly, highly recommend it for anyone who's in the thick of that state. But there was like a little tiny little whisper in me that knew, yeah, you know the answers. You can figure this out. You have figured things out before. You can do it. You just need to rest. You just need to take a break. And I know. Those of you that are watching all my videos, you're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, we get it. We get it. You took a sabbatical. But I can't not talk about these topics without mentioning how important it was to give my body and my mind and my heart the chance to be still. So whatever that looks like for you, that is the first part about what are we going to do about work? What are we going to do about making an income? How are we going to make sure that we have enough for retirement, that we have healthcare taken care of, that those that are relying on us are taken care of? Like, how are we going to solve all those issues if we're all fogged up and we're exhausted? So I'm going to say it again. Take some time however you can. And what I found during the time that I was able to take for myself is that I was able to switch from thinking about how do I survive? Like how do I survive these next X number of years doing this? to shifting to what do I want my life to look like? How do I want it to feel? And that is where the concept of pretirement was born. That's where it came from. So that's the first question for you is as it's related to work, think about how can it fit into a life that you can feel good about? How can we fit that into your pretirement? And here we are, 4 or 5 years later, and the experiment worked for me. And it's working for many of you. I'm hearing about it as well. The things that I finally got clarity around 4 years ago at the end of my sabbatical, I have made much of that happen. Many of the themes, I was looking for freedom, location freedom, adventure, fulfillment, the ability to connect with community, the ability to spend quality time with people I love, the ability to, stop and smell the roses or just like really experience the joy in the day to day. That's what I wanted. And I wanted work that was going to enable me to do that. I wanted work that did not nail down a lot of time in my calendar, that used my creative talents and other skills that I've developed over the years. I wanted to be able to contribute. I wanted to have an impact. I wanted to have a variety of things that I was doing. You change it up. I wanted to be able to experiment, try different stuff. Here we are 4 years later. I've been able to do all of that. And that is what has enabled me to build a retirement that I'm feeling damn good about. Damn good about. All right. I want to be really, really clear about something. As we're talking about this first pillar of retirement around work and around money, I'm not sitting here with $5 million in my retirement account telling you to give up your job and do something. Do something else. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is there has to be another way other than full-time grind, full-time grind, full-time grind for 65 years and then retirement, stop, rest, enjoy. There's got to be something in between that. And I'm in the in between and I'm experimenting with it. And I want you to experiment with me now. It's going to look different for different people. So for some of you, I've definitely heard specific situations where you cannot leave the job that you're in. You cannot leave the job that you're in for many reasons. Some of you lucky ones are on your way to being fully invested for some sort of a pension or some sort of financial reward. So you have a few more years to stick out for that. That is fabulous. Some of you have very specific obligations with children, even adult children, family members who require specific health care, and you need really strong benefits for that. And you're not in a place to sort of risk that. I hear you. I absolutely hear you. So that's one category. You can't even if you want to change up your work pillar, you can't change your job. So for those of you that fall in that category, I do want to do an episode on what happens if I can't leave. How do I design a retirement if I can't leave my current job? Because there are ways you can do it. I'm seeing people do it, and I'm going to share that with you. The next group of people are people who are in a job that they want to leave. They have to leave. I have a member of my community who her employer has kind of given the staff sort of advance notice that layoffs are coming in a few months. And so she sees that ahead of her. I have other people in my community who have been laid off and have lost their jobs recently. So for those of you that are in that camp, I see you and I feel you. I absolutely under different circumstances, I have felt the same fears and worries and desperation that you might be facing right now, and I get it. And I am actually actively seeking out answers to that. Um, I have friends who have very recently successfully changed careers, and they are closing in on 60 years old, and they've been able to sort of pivot and move in a good new direction. And so I'm going to dive into that topic as well. What does it take? How does a woman in her late 50s closing in on 60 get a new job? How do we get a freaking interview? How do we get them to call us back, right? So we're gonna dive into that as well. And then we have those of you who wanna leave your job and you kind of feel like you are able to, or you maybe you have a little savings you can lean on or whatever, but you're not really sure what you need to do next. You've got no clarity around that. You think you might wanna try your own thing, but that's a little scary because you've never done that before. You've had an employer your whole life. I get that too, because I have had long periods of being in the corporate world, climbing the corporate ladder with that executive title. And then this is my second time around with entrepreneurship. I had a 10-year entrepreneurship journey in my mid 30s to mid 40s, where I had my own sales consulting training. It was a worldwide uh, training, coaching, sales strategy business. So I've experienced both worlds, and I absolutely know how it can be daunting to figure out which direction to go. And I'm still figuring that out too. I mean, you can see that as I try different things and I do different things. I'm doing things that are close to my heart, doing things that sound fun or interesting and exciting, and at the same time trying to figure out what's going to earn me some income. So we're going to explore that together as well. There is a whole spectrum of options for work while you are creating your pretirement life design. I mean, you can start with full-time hustle grind and W-2 employed work all the way, to the other end of the spectrum is the ultimate retirement where you're not working at all. There's a lot of things in between. It can go to, like, reduced responsibility in the work that you have. Do you need to keep climbing the ladder? Is it okay to step sideways or maybe even down a rung or two? Like, if you can deal with your definition of success and let go of ego, that's my big challenge, and I had to learn how to put that aside. Can you step back, step down, step to the side? So there's reduced responsibility, there's reduced hours, there's looking at, part-time opportunities, either where you are or elsewhere, looking at things to do in other areas part-time. There's consulting and freelance work. Now, if you are currently employed and this is something that you're not comfortable doing, I get it. It may or may not be for you. Uh, More and more women our age are doing this because we have decades of wisdom, experience. We've seen all the things. And so we usually do a really stellar job at helping other people to achieve and to fix problems and to do things. So there's consulting and freelance and going in that direction. There's project work. You could take on a project at a time or work seasonally, like working occasionally, picking and choosing when you work. Maybe, work for a year straight and then, take some time off and try something different. There's lots of different things that you could do in that direction. And then that would be sort of like the last phase before, letting it go. Even within there, like with the occasional work, with the freelance and consulting, there's also multiple streams of income. You could start a YouTube channel as a stream of income. You could start a Substack as a stream of income. Uh, you, there's a lot of different online options that you can use to have multiple streams of income coming in at any given time. So there are options. The question is, what is right for you? What combination is right for you? What will work for you right now in your current scenario? And what would make for a nice pre-tirement? And what will ease you into retirement? And what will help fund all of that, right? It's also about what's going to generate the money. So today I want to ask you three questions to think about. Question number one: what exactly am I tired of? What exactly am I tired of? And we're talking about within the pillar of work. Is it how you're spending your time? Is it your coworkers? Is it the things that you're doing? Is it your boss? Is it your hours? Is it where you're spending your time? Really peel it back. What are you tired of? Question number two: what parts of work would I actually miss? What parts of my work now would I actually miss? Connection with people, the money you're making, having the structure, having some meaning in your day, having a schedule, going into the office, not going into the office. Like, what would I actually miss? Question number three: if I knew I had to work until 70, I know, just bear with me here. Let's just assume if I knew I had to work until 70, what would have to change? Is it where you go? Is it what you do? Is it how you spend your day? Is it your schedule? Is it the stress that's put on you? Like what is it that would have to change? So I'm going to ask you, just take out a pen and paper, and these are your journal questions for today. What exactly am I tired of about work? What about work would I actually miss? And if I have to work until I'm 70, what would have to change? That's going to give you some clarity on how are we going to redesign this work pillar. And we're not throwing it all out. We're not starting from scratch. We're not starting from zero. We're just going to see what we can do to tweak. And that's where you start. I'll actually even go first. I'll answer question number three. If I knew I had to work until 70, which by the way, most likely I will work until 70, what would have to change? If I had asked myself that question 4 or 5 years ago, I think I kind of did in a way without really knowing that's the question I was asking. I would have said, I want something with white space on my calendar. I want to use my creativity and my skills. I want location freedom. I want to enjoy the projects that I'm doing. I want variety. Like the list that I made is the list that I have made happen. And right now, sitting here at 59 years old, currently underprepared for retirement, but actively working on that and generating income, generating multiple streams of income to work towards the future. Right now, I know I can keep doing what I'm doing until I'm 70, the way that it is right now. And I would still have a fantabulous life because what I'm doing right now is enabling me to have a great life right now. So remember, bringing it back to you, answer those three questions, and thinking back to the last episode of the Pretirement Project where I asked you, what would your ordinary Tuesday look like? What do you want your ordinary Tuesday to look like? So as you're rethinking this work pillar, keep that in mind. Does this help support your Tuesday? That's what it's about. Personally, I don't know exactly when I'm going to retire, but I am not as afraid of that as I once was. I feel much better equipped as I head into this third act of my life. As I turn 60 in a couple of months, I'm feeling good about what I've built and how I can sustain it. Now, for you, I want you to think about that. I want you to identify where Where can you tweak things? Where do you need to do the redesign? What is going to require some attention and some action? Those are the things that we're going to work on together. Those are the things that we're going to explore. My name is Amy Palmer. I am your Gen X big sister. Please remember, hype this video. To be honest, I don't really know what that means, but I've started to hear people say hype. There must be like a button or something to hype. I think that helps get the video out. But anyway, hype this video, like it, comment, subscribe, share with your friends. I really want to make sure that all Gen X women have the opportunity to design a pre-retirement that brings them joy because you deserve it.